It's the day before Thanksgiving, 1971. A man in his mid-40s, wearing a dark suit and a tie, walks up to the Northwest Orient Airlines counter at Portland International Airport. He buys a one-way ticket to Seattle, paying in cash, the name on the ticket, Dan Cooper. This quiet, unassuming man is about to become one of the greatest legends in American criminal history, pulling off a heist so audacious it's still debated half a century later. He would board a plane, demand a fortune, and then vanish into thin air, leaving behind a mystery that has baffled the FBI and captivated the world. This is the story of D.B. Cooper. Once Flight 305 is airborne, Cooper settles into his seat, 18C. He lights a cigarette and calmly orders a bourbon and soda as the Boeing 727 climbs towards Seattle. He passes a note to a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. Thinking it's just another lonely businessman's phone number, she slips it into her purse. Florence is stunned. The note is neatly printed in all caps, stating he has a bomb in his briefcase. To prove it, he opens it just enough for her to see a mess of wires and red sticks. His demands were simple: $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills for parachutes and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. The crew alerts the captain, who radios air traffic control on the ground. The FBI scrambles into action. As the plane circles Seattle, passengers are told there's a minor mechanical issue causing the delay. They have no idea they're part of a high-stakes hijacking. On board, Cooper remains incredibly calm. He orders another bourbon. Even insisting on paying for it, he's polite, even thoughtful. He points out Puget Sound to the flight attendant and comments on the layout of Tacoma down below. His demeanor is so composed it's unsettling. He's not a frantic, desperate criminal. He's a man with a plan, executing it with unnerving precision. Meanwhile, on the ground, FBI agents are frantically gathering the cash and parachutes. Every second is crucial. The airline president authorizes the ransom payment, prioritizing the safety of the 36 passengers and 6 crew members. The clock is ticking. After nearly 2 hours of circling, Flight 305 finally lands at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. The plane is parked in a remote, well-lit area. Cooper demands that the cabin lights be dimmed to deter any potential snipers. Once the cash and parachutes are delivered by a single airline employee, he allows all passengers and 2 of the flight attendants to leave. The passengers walk off the plane, completely unaware of the drama that just unfolded. Cooper then outlines the next phase of his plan to the remaining crew. They will refuel and take off again, this time heading for Mexico City. He specifies the flight path: they must fly south under 10,000 feet, with the landing gear down and the wing flaps at 15 degrees. This keeps the plane's speed low, around 200 miles per hour. And most critically, he demands the aft air stair, the retractable staircase at the back of the 727, remain down. As they fly into a dark, stormy night, the crew remains in the cockpit, communicating with Cooper over the intercom. He tells them to stay put. Around 8 o'clock p.m., a warning light flashes in the cockpit, indicating the aft air stair has been opened. The air pressure in the cabin changes. The crew calls back to Cooper, but there's no answer. Somewhere over the dense, rugged wilderness of southwestern Washington, in the middle of a torrential downpour with wind-chill temperatures well below freezing, Dan Cooper jumped. He leaped from the back of a commercial jetliner with $200,000 strapped to his body, disappearing into the raging storm and into legend. 2 F-106 fighter jets had been scrambling to follow the 727, but they never saw him jump. He was gone. The plane eventually landed safely in Reno, Nevada. The FBI immediately stormed the aircraft, only to find it empty, save for Cooper's black tie, a tie clip, and 2 of the 4 parachutes he'd requested. This kicked off one of the most extensive and expensive manhunts in US history, codenamed Norjack for Northwest hijacking. Hundreds of soldiers, FBI agents, and local police combed the dense forests near Ariel, Washington, the suspected jump zone. They searched on foot, by helicopter, and even from a submarine in Lake Merwin. They found nothing: no parachute, no briefcase, no money, and no body. The public, meanwhile, became fascinated. A media miscommunication led to the hijacker being called DB Cooper, and the name stuck. He wasn't seen as a dangerous criminal, but as a folk hero, a clever underdog who beat the system and got away with it. For years, the case went cold. The FBI investigated over 800 suspects, clearing every single one. It seemed DB Cooper had truly vanished without a trace. Then, in February 1980, a breakthrough. An 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram was vacationing with his family along the Columbia River at a place called Tina Bar. While digging a fire pit in the sand, he uncovered 3 bundles of rotting cash. He and his family turned it over to the FBI. The serial numbers were a match. It was a portion of Cooper's ransom money 5800 in deteriorated $20 bills. This discovery, however, only deepened the mystery. The money was found miles from the projected drop zone. How did it get there? Did Cooper lose it during the jump? Did he land in the river and drown? Or did he bury it there and plan to come back for it? The questions just kept piling up over the decades. Countless theories and suspects have emerged. There was Richard McCoy, JRB, a Vietnam veteran who pulled off a similar copycat hijacking just 5 months later but was eventually caught. He had an alibi for the Cooper hijacking, but many investigators remained unconvinced. Then there was Lynn Doyle Cooper, a man whose niece claimed he came home for Thanksgiving in 1971, bloody and bruised, confessing he'd hijacked a plane. And more recently, Robert Rackstraw, a military veteran with parachute and explosives training, who became the subject of a high-profile documentary and book. He toyed with the accusations but never confessed, and the FBI officially cleared him. Despite all the leads and potential suspects, no one was ever definitively identified as the man who called himself Dan Cooper. Finally, in 2016, after 45 years of dead ends and frustrating leads, the FBI officially closed the active investigation. They concluded that the resources could be better used on other cases. DB Cooper remains the only unsolved case of air piracy in commercial aviation history. So what really happened to him? Did he survive the treacherous jump into the wilderness and live out his days in quiet anonymity, a rich man with a secret? Or did he perish in the cold, dark forest, his body and the rest of the money never to be found? We may never know for sure. The man who bought a one-way ticket to Seattle achieved a strange kind of immortality. He didn't just steal $200,000. He stole a piece of history, leaving behind a perfect mystery that continues to fascinate and confound us to this day. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe,